Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the 10 fastest cars in GTA Online in terms of top speed. Now on this list I have included a few from last gen in case you are on last gen and you do not have access to HSW, but I have also included quite a lot of HSW vehicles on the list as well. I've also included some vehicles with speed glitches, which is going to be cool. Before anybody asks in the comment section, no, you cannot get banned for them, and no, it's not cheap. They're just speed glitches that literally anyone can access. You don't have to do anything really crazy or special, and I'm going to explain them both when I go over those vehicles as well. Anyway guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you don't, subscribe if you're new. Let's get started with number 10. At number 10 we have the longest standing champ of the sports category, which is of course the Ocelot Pariah. This thing is notorious for its pretty high top speed of about 136 miles per hour, and it comes in at the relatively low cost of $1,420,000, and this thing has dominated the sports category up until pretty recently in terms of top speed at least. The Pariah is rear wheel drive, so it gets a pretty bad launch off the line, but it could be a lot worse considering there's things like muscle cars which launch absolutely terribly. But this thing gets to its top speed very quickly. Once you actually gain traction, it just rockets right up to its top speed. Beyond that, the handling is pretty good on this thing. It's not the best. It's not going to compete with things like the Gradiatelli GTO, for example, or things like the Panaud Le Carousse. But in terms of top speed and also having a pretty good balance of handling and acceleration, as well as some pretty nice customization, the Ocelot Pariah does a pretty good job in all of those boxes. So with that being said, let's move on to number 9. Next up at number 9, we got one that is pretty much exclusively for top speed, and it is the BF Weevil Custom for $870,000 plus an additional $980,000 for the upgrade into the Weevil Custom. This thing tops out at 138 miles per hour. But that's about the only useful thing about the Weevil Custom, because it is within the muscle category, and that means it's not going to have very good handling whatsoever, and the acceleration and launch off the line are not that awesome either. I actually think the Ocelot Pariah gets to its top speed before the Weevil does for sure. Granted, it is a little bit faster than the Pariah, but I do just think that the Ocelot Pariah is a much better package overall than the BF Weevil Custom, and somehow the Ocelot Pariah is also quite a lot cheaper, unless of course you do get the BF Weevil for free like you can, and I believe you're going to get that through completing the English Dave missions that he calls you for. If you do buy a Weevil Custom, don't expect this thing to go around corners whatsoever. It is exclusively going to be good for driving down the highway, and that is pretty much it, and hopefully you don't have to weave through any traffic, because I don't think you're going to make it, to be honest. Next up at number 8, we got the Benefactor LM87 for $2,980,000. This thing's quite expensive, but it does have an absolutely insane speed glitch. It kind of reminds me of the old RE7B speed glitch from back when Cunning Stunts first came out. This thing is insane and can see speeds as high as maybe 180 miles per hour and beyond. It's really fast. When you start moving with this thing down the highway, passing traffic, you start to realize just how quick it is. Now this speed glitch previously was activated by putting anything other than a stock spoiler on the car, but Rockstar patched that out at a certain point. But now what you can actually do is shoot the front bumper and get it to sway back and forth, as you guys can see here in the gameplay. And if you can manage to achieve this, which is pretty easy, you just shoot it a few times with the assault rifle or assault shotgun, something like that, and you'll get it to start swinging. Once it's swinging, you can go ahead and just take off. Now I have heard that the LM87 speed glitch used to be affected by FPS, and the more FPS you had, the faster it would go. I'm not sure if that still stands to this day, but I do think FPS couldn't hurt. So if you're on Xbox or PS4 or something like that, one of the older platforms, this might not work as well for you as it does for me, because I'm on PC getting like 170 FPS or something like that. So it might not go this fast, but it's going to be pretty darn quick. The LM87 is also just a fantastic car. It has insanely high downforce and it is regarded as one of the very best race cars on the PC platform and last gen as well. So it's an awesome vehicle generally, and I would highly recommend it. It's got some nice customization, pretty good launch off the line for being rear wheel drive. Like I said, insanely high downforce, and with the speed glitch, it's got a crazy top speed, and the customization is not too bad either. The LM87 is a must-have in my opinion. I think you should buy this thing. It is absolutely awesome. At number 7, we got the Benefactor Sterling GT for $975,000. It has now been added back into the game on the websites and is actually purchasable, which is really cool. Now you can also put a $900,000 HSW upgrade on this thing, and once you've done that, it will get a top speed in the pretty high 150 range, topping out at about 156.5 miles per hour. So this thing is stupid fast. Plus, Rockstar also added some additional customization to the Sterling GT a few years ago and made it significantly better. Plus, if you don't know, the Sterling GT is also one of the very best sounding cars in all of GTA Online, so there's a lot of reasons why you should own this thing. It's a pretty fantastic car with pretty decent handling as well. It is within the sports classic category too, and it will put up a pretty good fight in that category against some of the heavy hitters at the very top of the category when it comes to racing as well. Definitely pick up a Sterling GT, this thing is awesome. At number 6, we got the Shih Tzu Hakuchu Drag for $983,000. Plus, it's going to cost you an additional $1,420,000 for an HSW upgrade for it. But if you do, this thing is crazy fast. It goes 157.5 miles per hour, which is insanely quick. And the Hakuchu Drag is also regarded as one of the best ways of getting across the map, as well as completing time trials and things like that. This thing is fantastic, and also the more you ride it, the better you'll be at it, and the less likely you will be to fall off because of the motorcycle club skill bonus of having your favorite bike and things like that. For being a drag motorcycle, this thing actually has pretty decent handling, shockingly. The acceleration is absolutely amazing, and being that it is so small, you can fit through a lot of tight spaces where cars can't, so that can also save you some time on time trials. But of course, the Achilles heel is that if you do hit anything, you are probably going off that bike, and at 157.5 miles per hour, you're probably not surviving that fall. At number 5, we got the Declassy Vigoro ZX for $1,947,000 for the initial price, plus an additional $550,000 for HSW. The Vigoro ZX for a long time was actually the highest top speed HSW vehicle in GTA Online, but it has since been dethroned because we've got some really insanely fast cars coming up on the list just ahead of it. It goes 158 miles per hour and it is within the muscle category, so it doesn't have the best handling. However, off the line, it does have a decent launch if you do wheelie, because of course, muscle cars get access to the wheelie bonus, which is pretty cool. This thing has some fantastic customization as well as generally pretty good performance. The handling isn't as bad as other muscle cars like the Bravado Gauntlet Hellfire, for example. I'd say it's somewhere in between the Dominator ASP and the Hellfire, probably closer to the Hellfire side of things though, unfortunately. But overall, for just under $2.5 million, this thing's actually kind of a bargain when it comes to top speed, especially in comparison to some of the vehicles coming up on the list, which are going to be well into the $3 million range to get the same performance. So, pretty awesome vehicle. I would definitely recommend this one. At number 4, we got the Western Reaver, and the reason this bike is here is because of a speed glitch. It costs $1.9 million, and with the speed glitch, it will top out at about 163 miles per hour, which is crazy quick. This thing is just stupidly fast. And you'd probably think that because it's got the speed glitch and it's so fast in a straight line that it couldn't go around corners, and that could not be more far from the truth. The Western Reaver is regarded as the best motorcycle in the entire game when it comes to racing, a lot of the time at least, especially if you're on a track with a pretty good straightaway on it, because of course you can take advantage of the speed glitch. Now the speed glitch is just going to be activated by literally doing a wheelie. You don't have to do anything else, you don't have to change the back tire on it and leave the front tire alone, or do any weird shit. You just gotta buy the Western Reaver, fully upgrade it, and go ahead and wheelie. And you will reach 163 miles per hour, which is crazy. On PC, it might get slightly higher than 163, but I think on all platforms, it can at least reach 163, which is pretty awesome. The Western Reaver is a good bike. It looks pretty cool too. Overall, I would say you should probably have one. Next up at number 3, we got the Grotti Italy GTO Stinger TT for $2,350,000. plus an additional $1,418,000 for the HSW upgrade. And this thing is insanely fast. This held the top speed record in GTA Online for quite a long time, until very recently. It topped out at about 168.5 miles per hour, which is insanely fast. There was nothing in the game that you could get across the map with quicker than this thing, at least on land. Jets were the only thing that could compete with this when it came from getting from point A to point B, so long as the route was relatively straight, because as many of you will know, the Stinger TT has pretty abysmal handling. It is absolutely terrible, and a lot of people confuse it with the Gradiatali GTO because, well, that's the first 3 words in its name, but I'm of course talking about the Stinger TT. It sucks when it comes to handling. It's also rear wheel drive and got a pretty pathetic launch off the line. It wasn't very awesome, but the top speed did sort of make up for all of the other shit that you had to deal with the Stinger TT. It also has a kind of decent amount of customization, albeit not my favorite looking car ever, and not my favorite customization ever either. Overall though, it is a pretty fast one, and it definitely deserves to be on the list. At number 2, we got the Ubermacht Niobe for $1,880,000 plus an additional $1.8 million for the HSW upgrade, and this thing actually has a lower top speed than the previously mentioned Gradiatali GTO Stinger TT, and the reason that I've put the Niobe ahead of it is because the Niobe is the most capable sports car in the entire game when it comes to just being an all-around package. It has a top speed of about 160 miles per hour, which is a little slower than the Italy GTO Stinger TT, but you could probably bet all your money that a Niobe is going to make it to wherever you want it to go faster than the Stinger TT. The reason for this is because the Niobe is all-wheel drive, so it automatically gets a much better launch off the line. The acceleration is also far better through the first few gears that it has as well, and the handling is absolutely incredible. It feels like this thing is glued to the road. It's got pretty good downforce, and not to mention the customization for the vehicle is pretty awesome. Paired with everything else, the Niobe just definitely deserves to be ahead of the GTO Stinger TT, even though the top speed is slightly slower. This thing is just realistically going to get you across the map a lot quicker than the TT. But of course, at number 1, we have the brand new Bravado Banshee GTS for $1,989,500 plus an additional $1,900,000 for HSW. This thing is going to top out at 172.5 miles per hour, which is insane. And I also want to say too that the Bravado Banshee GTS is the fastest car on last gen as well, beating out the BF Weevil Custom and topping out at about 140 miles per hour, which is crazy. So it's the fastest non-HSW car and the fastest HSW car in GTA Online currently. It is insanely quick, and for being rear-wheel drive, it really puts the Gradiatali GTO Stinger TT to shame because it actually goes around corners pretty convincingly, and it's less money than the Stinger TT, which is quite pathetic in all honesty. Unless you upgrade it to HSW, then it's slightly more expensive. But the Banshee GTS also has some fantastic customization, and generally it is just a great looking car. It is of course based off of the last generation Dodge Viper, which is just, it's gonna beat the Stinger TT every single time. I think in terms of looks, it is just a much better looking and performing car in all ways. So anyway guys, there you have it. That's been my list for the 10 fastest cars in GTA Online. Let me know what you thought of my list in the comment section down below. Comment a 7 if you made it to the end of the video, of course. Leave a like if you enjoyed or learned something. Dislike if you didn't, of course. And consider subscribing if you guys are new. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care. Peace.